This is the Reluctant Leader podcast, the podcast designed to help you if you've landed a leadership role through no fault of your own and now need to find out what you should be doing. I'm your host, Mark Terrell, and have been there and know what it feels like and made all the mistakes. In each episode, I'll be getting to grips with a leadership topic by interviewing an expert in their field. You'll find out why they do what they do and take away some top tips you can use to become a more confident leader. For more content and to keep in touch with how the project is developing, go to www.thereluctantleader.co.uk. If you have any comments about the episode, you'll find me on LinkedIn, Facebook and Twitter. So let's crack on with the show. Today I'm talking to Jonny Cooper. Jonny is a British entrepreneur, piano player, international racing driver and business coach. Jonny grew his own business to 8 figures, then exited and founded JonnyHatesMarketing.com, helping coaches, trainers and therapists find more of their ideal clients more easily. He is also the voice behind the legendary Jonny Hates Marketing Facebook group and swears that he really, really does hate marketing. Hope you enjoy this chat we had about tribes, and I'll catch you all on the other side. So Jonny, welcome to the Reluctant Leader podcast.
Yeah, it's great to be here, Mark.
Yes, well, I was talking on your in your group on the Facebook a while back, and we came up with this concept about tribes, and I think it's going to be fascinating for me and you, and hopefully for the listeners, to talk about the importance of tribes. But before we get stuck into that, the question I always ask my guests is, why do you do what you do? And what was the pivotal moment that took you down this path?
Yeah, that's a really great question. And I do this because I'm on a mission to improve the wealth and health of the coaching community. And I do remember a pivotal moment, actually, when I was flailing around in, I'm going to say, late 2016, early 2017. To define a niche for the next part of my career, the next part of my life. I spent quite a few years kind of in the coaching wilderness. I don't even know if I was a coach. I was probably a business consultant. I was just taking a rag bag of clients, doing anything that people asked me to do. And I realized that I needed to niche. I needed to find, my tribe. And sort of build a client avatar. And I came across a survey, I think it was McKinsey or one of these big global accountancy firms, that they worked out from a global study that the average coaching income around the world was pitiful. It was like £23,000 or dollars or something. And the more I discovered some of the brilliant sort of coaches and therapists, the kind of people who inhabit the Jonny Hates Marketing community now, I realized that's a terrible waste, of skills and experience and knowledge and wisdom and all the rest of it. And it's just simply this, that most coaches and therapists haven't cracked the code of client attraction. They just haven't got enough people to work with. They're invisible, effectively. So I thought, well, that'd be a reasonable quest, wouldn't it, for the next part of my life, at least, to see if I can, inject some client attraction wisdom, if that's the right expression. First time I've used that, into the coaching community, and just show coaches and therapists that it isn't as hard as all that to actually build a tribe and, find more of your ideal clients. So, reading that survey, I guess, I think back to that as a pivotal moment. And it set me on the path that I'm on now, where I work exclusively, with coaches and therapists to help them find more of their ideal clients more easily.
That's a great story, in that I think you're absolutely right. And then there's lots of people that want to do good, but we all need to be... we need to find our tribe, basically, and that's the important thing. Who is it that we can help, and who do we want to help along on their journey? And if we can find those people, obviously it makes us feel good, and obviously we make a big difference to those people.
Yeah, I agree.
And before you are going to help a lot of people, and I want to do that. But the first thing to do, I suppose, to think about is your tribe and how you find your tribe. And how do you go about doing that?
I have a very organic process. I've kind of railed against paid advertising, having seen a number of sort of train wreck disaster stories from people who've pumped money into ads and not got anywhere. I accept there is a role for that. Primarily with Facebook these days, I guess. But my organic funnel is really a sort of conversation-based process where, having built a bit of a tribe in my Facebook group and on LinkedIn, it's relatively easy now to identify people who look like the next ideal client. And with a high-ticket program like I've got, it's worth just tapping them on the shoulder and saying, hey, I feel your pain. I've seen your comment. I've seen your post. Let's jump on a call, see if I can share some insights. So it's a very kind of organic conversation-based process, which works when you have a high-ticket program. When you have value costs in dollars, anything from sort of $3,000 to $10,000. It's worth spending time just kind of nurturing relationships. Now, the precursor to that is the client avatar work. Defining who your ideal client is, working out who they are, who you can help the most, who you'd enjoy working with, who'd enjoy working with you, who've got to afford to pay you, all that good stuff. And once you've got that, it is relatively easy to find them. I mean, I don't know why people struggle so much with social media, because, social media is filled with signals and cues that will guide you to people who are the people you want to work with. I've trained Facebook now. I've trained the algorithm so that, people you may be interested in, which you get fed every morning, don't you, in your newsfeed, they're all coaches and therapists. They're all people who define themselves using the word coach or therapist or author or speaker, that kind of thing. So this stuff isn't hard once you get a little bit of momentum. They just show up all around you. And it's the same on LinkedIn. You get you get that block in the middle of your homepage, in the middle of your network page, I think it is on LinkedIn, which is kind of a grid, isn't it, of people's profile thumbnails. And, they're all coaches and therapists in my LinkedIn profile now, because I've shown LinkedIn that they're the people I want to connect to. So they're connecting with me organically because they can find me from the keywords in my profile. And, my team's connecting with like 50, I think we send out 50 connection requests a day on LinkedIn. So my network is growing exponentially, but only with the people that I want to be connected with. And I think, that this is the number one lesson, isn't it, for you guys who are coaches and therapists out there. Numbers are irrelevant of themselves. You need numbers of the people that you actually want to help, that you've defined as members of your tribe. And Mark, I've just got to say again, using those two platforms that I've given as examples, using Facebook and LinkedIn, you can build a business about any scale and size you want, as long as you surround yourself with the right people and you attract the people that you want to help most.
Yeah. So you've mentioned technology already, and I've been reading or rereading Seth Godin's Tribes book, and he talks a lot about the actual the technology that we have available to us is there to be used to find our tribes, and you've already alluded to that fact that you can, if you put the right signals out, then those people will come to us.
Yeah, exactly.
And it's an interesting thing. I think we all get a bit sort of think, well, we just deliver something. But I was looking at what you do and how you market yourself, and you talk about, well, Jonny hates marketing, although that's what you pretty much teach, which is similar to what I talk about when I talk about, the reluctant leader. I'm talking about people that, don't want to do something that I want to teach them to do. So it's sort of a similar scenario there, isn't there? But it does highlight, doesn't it? It's highlighting what someone's pain is, isn't it? I mean, that's what you're doing and similar to what I'm doing.
Yeah, I mean, the pain amongst coaches and therapists isn't necessarily that they want to become a better coach. A lot of them are brilliant coaches already, and that'll get better, won't it, with experience and we're working with more clients. the thing that pains them is that they haven't got enough clients to talk to. So, yeah, I agree with you. I mean, the Jonny Hates Marketing brand resonates in the sector because pretty much to a man or a woman, they hate marketing. You know, their core area of competence, their zone of genius is in changing people's lives through their coaching, you know, not through sales and marketing necessarily. So yeah, it is a resonant brand, and it came to me. It was just a moment of serendipity, really. I was on a podcast with another great podcast host like you. This is a guy in Canada, and we got to the bottom of some really terrible marketing strategies. You know, we were talking about some marketeers who are very spammy and salesy and all that kind of thing. And the guy just said to me, "You don't really like marketing, do you?" I said, "No, I hate it, really." And he said, "Spoiler alert, Jonny hates marketing." And I said, "Whoa, just say that again. That sounds good." And I wrote it down, and everything changed, you know. And there's a brand, there's a book, and all the rest of it. You know? So yeah, it's good fun. And I think, you know, my process for me is kind of, you know, it's my benchmark that I teach, really. You know, the process I went through from becoming a general business consultant, you know, being prepared to work with anybody who'd have me on a variety of topics, to being niched, working with coaches and therapists, helping them find other ideal clients. You know, it's made night and day difference. I'm heading for 10x the revenue that I was creating for myself in 2015. And that's the difference it makes, isn't it, when you understand your tribe?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think and pull away just about from just marketing and what we do and all that sort of stuff. We talk about leadership in general as to how we are all leading a tribe of sorts, whether we've chosen to lead that tribe or whether we've been given a tribe to lead. And that's the difference. If you've been given a tribe, then obviously you've got to convert them in some way. But if you've got the people that you've attracted in a leadership position, then your job is going to be so much easier, isn't it?
Yeah, you've got a choice, haven't you, of passive or active leading. Like you say, I mean, everything you post in some way leads somebody who's read it to do something, or to think something, or to feel something. So you're leading anyway. I mean, it's the same concept with a brand. You know, coaches say to me, you know, "I don't have a brand." Well, you do. It's just whether you're managing it or not. You know, we all show up in a certain way, and people are going to make assumptions about who you are and what you do and whether you're of any use to them. So it's just about becoming an effective brand, you know, an effective leader, a useful leader, somebody who leads someone in a useful direction rather than just not, you know.
Yeah, I think it's worth at this point just mentioning something I picked out of, again, the book, Seth Godin's Tribe book. And he picked out what Senator Bill Bradley defines a movement as having three elements. One is the narrative that tells a story about who we are and the future we're trying to build. Yeah. Number two, a connection between and among the leader and the tribe. So obviously those two elements are really powerful. But then the third one is something to do. The fewer limits, the better. And sadly, unfortunately, the third one is what most people focus on doing.
Yeah. Do you want to just recite that again, that third one?
The third one is something to do. The fewer limits, the better. So just doing something for the sake of it, or if we could say just to make some money. With fewer limits, the better. So we just do it. And actually, you know, we wake up 5 years later and wonder why we've been doing it for so long.
Yeah, ain't that true? I mean, I can look back now on the birth of the Jonny Hates Marketing business in early last year. You know, it's not even 2 years old yet, and just think, crikey, that went fast. How's all this happened? How's all this happening? Yeah. But it does, you know, if you put these simple principles in place, you know, what I call my 3 pillars of effortless marketing, specifically for coaches and therapists. So, you know, understanding what it is you do and defining that, and being able to explain that clearly. understanding who it's for, and really kind of niching down as much as you can and want to. And then wrapping that into some kind of signature offering, a program, productizing your services rather than just selling your time by the hour. Those three things just really move you along. And, since I launched JHM at the start of last year, I've built up a 6-figure momentum. I'm going to do 7 figures next year from this business just by following those three simple principles. And yes, we all love Seth, and it's a lot about Seth's basic principles and his mindset and his teachings. Can I just throw another quote in from Seth, which I absolutely love?
Yeah.
This is his latest book. It's called This Is Marketing. And this is a modern masterpiece as well, to set alongside Tribe and Purple Cow and his other stuff. There's a wonderful quote on the back cover here, which really speaks to tribes. I'll read it out, obviously, because this is an audio podcast. It says, people like us do things like this. And what this speaks to is the idea that if you successfully build a tribe and you position yourself as a personal brand, working with a certain type of person and doing a certain type of thing that speaks to their desires and their challenges, then they're going to look at your stuff and they're going to say that. They're going to say, people like us do things like this. People like us work with Jonny. People like us work with Mark. And the sooner and more simply you can get your tribe to that conclusion in numbers, the more money you're going to make more quickly, the more impact you're going to have, the more people you're going to attract. So I just love the idea of marketing being about corralling, people of a similar mind in a similar situation, with similar challenges together, and speaking to them as a whole, speaking to them, so that it will feel as if you're speaking to them as an individual. You're speaking directly to them as a person. And isn't it wonderful when you get an email, that's addressed to you with your name on it, hi, Jonny, and you read through it and you think, this guy gets me. This guy's talking to me. People like me work with this guy. People like me do things like this. And that's just such a stupidly simple phrase, isn't it? People like us do things like this.
Yeah, it's brilliant. It's brilliant. Which leads perfectly onto one of the other things that I was going to talk about, and that's the structure of a tribe. And ultimately, when you're starting a tribe, the first relationship is leader to tribe. But and obviously that develops, doesn't it? From there on, once you bring enough people on board, and obviously I've seen this within your Facebook community, it's not just about leaders to tribe. It becomes member of the tribe to member of the tribe, doesn't it?
Well, very much so. Facebook or the great free gift from heaven, as I call it, has given us this wonderful opportunity, specifically with groups. And, there are people still in the muddle about the difference between a page and a group. I mean, Facebook page is your shop window, effectively, business-like, transactional style. The group feels more to me like a party. When I launched the JHM group, it felt like I'd just launched a party, just holding a party. And I was inviting guests to it. And like you say, when the guests arrive, sure, they meet you as the host. They go, hey, Jonny, great party. But what do you do when you go to a party? You get a drink and you stand around and you talk to people at the party. You talk to other guests. You can go a whole party without speaking to the host. You might be in the corner talking to somebody else. But that doesn't matter, does it? That doesn't matter. It's your party. You've launched the party. You've invited the guests there. Everybody knows it's your party. And you can show up once in a while. The other thing you do at a party, isn't it? You stand on a table every now and again. And you go, listen up, everyone.
Yeah, the food's ready.
The food's ready. Yeah. Sausage roll on the table. Or I've got an announcement. Yeah, me and Laura have decided we're going to break up. We're going to but that's what you do, isn't it? And you have fun. I mean, that's the other kind of distinguishing feature of a great party. People won't necessarily remember everything you've said and done in a party, but crikey, they remember how it made them feel being part of it. And, that for me is what's important about the group. Sure, I keep putting content out there, put my best wisdom head on and type stuff. I ask questions. I'd be a little bit crazy. I'm sure, if I took one of the members aside today and said, what was my last post? They'd go, don't know. But they'll probably remember how they feel about being part of the group, how it makes them feel, how it inspires them, hopefully. That's my aim anyway, on a daily basis. They know in a general sense, what they get out of it and why they're there and why they want to stay there and get more out of it, So it is very much like that for me, this wonderful tour, as they've been given by Facebook. It just feels like I'm throwing a party and all my mates there and we have a good time,
Yeah, and I feel that, and there's no ever any pressure. It's just you stimulating some conversation, and you do that really well because the questions you come up with really make you think. I think what were the ones you've been doing recently about meeting your A-lister and all that sort of stuff? What A-lister would you like to work with? That's a really, really interesting question, isn't it? Who is that person?
Well, that's really strategic. So I'm glad you mentioned that because I am having a private conversation with someone who is going to become a group member and possibly on the expert panel in my inner circle group. So this guy has coached Beyonce, he's coached Robert De Niro, Schwarzenegger, presidents. He hasn't told me which president yet, but I'm going to be grilling him on that when I talk to him privately. So I'm going to introduce him to the group because I'm fascinated by this concept that we're held back by a kind of glass ceiling that we impose on ourselves as coaches and therapists, which limits our revenue, limits our impact, our reach, limits the scale of our business, because we're fishing in a pond that's our pond, which is great. You can, if that's all you ever want to do. But I was just with that post, I was testing the water in the group as to whether anybody had an appetite for working with A-listers, and a lot of people were going, "I wish, if only I knew how to do it." So I might be actually dropping some nuggets in through my newfound contact as to how we go about that. But we'll see.
It's an interesting. It reminded me of something that actually happened to me quite recently. Someone I met, and then they contacted me on LinkedIn, said that I met you a while ago, and I think you'll be great to work with. I'm actually looking for someone at the moment, and so we jumped on a Zoom call, and everything was great. And he said, I just need to go back to the trustees and say, just check out, make sure that the funding's still there, blah blah blah.
Okay.
And then I sort of followed him up a couple of weeks later, and I said, "What's happened?" He said, "Well, I spoke to the trustees, and they think that I should get someone that's actually more from a different area rather than from where you come from, not in geographical, but from a background basis." And I thought that was interesting, in that firstly he found someone that he saw as something could help him, but when he went to other people, they said, "No, we don't think that's the right person." And you think, well, how does that work?
Yeah. I mean, it's all about your network, isn't it?
Yes,
your network is in your network.
But I've obviously attracted somehow that person has been attracted to me, whichever for whatever reason. But then obviously some other people come in. But the point is there I'm trying to make is that we are what we are, and we are attracted to certain things because of what we are and what we've been and where we want to be. I talk a lot about motivation and the three elements of motivation. Our past is obviously important. Present is where we are at the moment, but probably most importantly, where is it we want to go? What is our future, and what's that look like? And like you just said, most of us underestimate where we can actually get to.
Yeah, I totally agree. And everything I do is about building a bridge between where a coach or therapist is today and where they want to get to. Mm-hmm. So defining where they want to get is the first stage of that. But then my work, my signature program is the bridge between those 2 points.
Mm-hmm. I've written down here on my notes, fear of standing out. Is that something that you come across a lot with the people that you work with?
I think everybody would like to stand out, but in a good way. And I think some of the issues I come across are people's interpretation of what standing out might mean. So they don't want to stand out by being controversial. They don't want to stand out by polarizing, by upsetting anybody. But hey, you know, when you see all these great leaders and, you know, you only got to connect with a few people and see how they show up in their groups, half the world hates them. There's a couple of people I hang out with online in the real world, one of them, and he actually keeps a folder on Facebook of all the hate mail that he's had. You know, all the people calling him a douche and worse, you know, really kind of, you know, insulting profanities,
right.
Almost as a badge of honor, you know, because when you realize that you're polarizing the world, you're on your way. You know, you're on your way. If you try and appeal to everyone, you'll appeal to no one. And isn't this just everything about, you know, what Seth teaches us and the rest of the guys? You know, nobody's going to say people like us do things like this if you're just dull as ditch water, you know, and you're sitting on the fence, you're not expressing any opinions, you're not being clear about your beliefs, your values, your mission, and all the rest of it. You know, you just say, well, I'm a coach. You might as well just give up at that point if that's the best you got, you know, because you've got all the work ahead of you on you.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think now you've mentioned it, obviously the president of the United States at the moment obviously has his tribe. He's managed to get a tribe that follow him. And that is the reason why he is president at the end of the day.
Like him or not, I think people will be writing about the example that he's given into perpetuity, because he's the most remarkable self-marketer. He's probably the greatest personal brand the world has ever seen. Because when people get him, they get him to the extent that nothing he does can deter them from loving him. You know, he could literally pull his pants down on live TV and slap his dick on the lectern.
A bit.
He wouldn't lose anybody from his tribe of adherents. You know, it's just remarkable. There's never been an example like that, a shining example of polarization in marketing. And yet the other half of the world loathe and detest him, and nothing will stop them doing that either. So, you know, guys, if nothing else, you know, the Donald is an example of that done to perfection, isn't it?
Yeah, and there's a massive lesson there, isn't it? How we use it and how we can be clever in our marketing. And you can't, you know, the guy at the weekend when he walked onto the first time a president walked onto North Korean soil, you know, that was all staged. We all know that. But that's going to go down in history.
Absolutely.
It's masterstroke.
He will be remembered like the Emperor Nero is remembered. You know.
But when you think about, you know, leadership principles, there's lots to this. But when you talk about marketing, and this is the third time on this podcast, we've got to the marketing sort of theme, I suppose you could call it in different ways. But it shows how important. I think when I started this podcast, if someone says within the first 30 episodes, you'll be talking at least 3 times about marketing, that would not have been on my agenda. But now, as time goes by, it is so important, because we have to market ourselves in some way, whether it's to the outside world, but also we have to market ourselves internally to the people that we are leading if we're working with an organization. That's so important to get the message out. What are we about? What am I about? Are you gonna follow me? Because you know, that's what leadership is all about. It's actually getting people to follow you.
Yeah, it absolutely is. And, you know, I think we ought to position marketing in a different way than thinking about, you know, I need to master social media. I need to go on Instagram, I need to go on LinkedIn, I need to go on Pinterest, Twitter, Facebook, because all that stuff just drives you insane, doesn't it? And, you know, I meet coaches who think that they've built a website and that's marketing. You know, those things are just tools. All that stuff's just tools. Shall I tell you what marketing is? And I didn't come up with this. I wish I'd said this, but you know what? It's in Seth's book.
Good old Seth. We're back to him again.
Seth Godin defined marketing. He said, marketing is the generous act of helping someone solve a problem, their problem.
Mm.
And there's 2 sentences there, 1 paragraph, which to me sums up everything that we're trying to do and should be trying to do. Marketing is the generous act of helping someone solve a problem, their problem.
Yeah.
And if you frame it in that sense, it doesn't seem that hard, does it? Because all you have to do is ask yourself, well, who's my someone and what problem am I solving for them? Yeah. And that's everything. I don't care. It's not just coaches and therapists. This is every product, isn't it? This is every product. Every product.
Every product or service is solving some problem or other.
It is. It's making someone's life better. It's moving them from where they are today to where they want to get to. I'm just looking around my desk, my specs. I bought these because they help me solve the problem that I couldn't read without them.
Yes.
This glass of water, this has helped me solve the problem of feeling thirsty and not being hydrated. Crikey, guys. It's so simple, isn't it? It's so simple. And the genius of people like Seth and, all those of us who aspire to, in some way make our dent in the universe is in working out who our someone is and helping them solve a problem, defining what the problem is. It's that simple, guys. And coaches, therapists, if you take nothing else from this podcast, it has to be work out who someone is and work out what their problem is and help them to solve it. And they will love you forever and your tribe will fall into place then.
Yeah, exactly. Precisely. Sadly, we could talk for hours, I'm sure, about this topic, but we're getting to the point where we need to wrap things up a bit. Right. As I said, I prompted before we started recording, is that we need some tips and some wisdom from you, Jonny. So what would be those 3 things that you can leave us with today that we can put into place or use when it comes to marketing ourselves or our business or whatever?
Well, it's your gig, man. It really, really is. But you've completely fed me a stage here to just to roll out my 3 pillars, because you asked me for 3 things, so here they are. My 3 pillars of client attraction are: number 1, defining what it is you do. This isn't just for my tribe. This is not just for coaches and therapists, but whatever you're doing in business, work out what it is you actually do. And it might not be what you think it does, what you think it is to start with. If you're selling widgets, what you actually do is you solve the problem that people are buying the widgets for. Very simple example, and I know we've got to wrap up quickly, but 300 million drill bits are sold every year around the world, but nobody wants a drill bit. You could argue they want a hole, but I would say, no, they don't. They want the thing they're going to attach to whatever the hole is helping them attach. And then you could take it a stage further. You could say, well, they might want a bookcase, but what they actually want is they want the feeling of joy and satisfaction that comes from fixing a bookcase to the wall and having somewhere to put their books so they're not strewn all over the house, So what do people really, really want? What is it that you do? So define that. Then secondly, as we've mentioned, at length in this podcast already, work out who it's for, the second pillar. The first pillar is what. The second pillar has to be who. Who's your tribe? And, I guess more for coaches and therapists, but also for, speakers and authors and that kind of thing. How do you deliver what it is you do to who you do it for and with? And that means, moving away, if you're a service professional, from selling your time by the hour, moving away from done for you services, where you're working one-on-one and just ebbing away your precious life, at an hourly rate, and productizing your services. People buy products rather than ideas. And I'm sure this will apply to a whole bunch of the experts in your audience, Mark. Productize your services, create a program, deliver your wisdom and your genius to more than one person at a time, corral your tribe, into groups, and deliver stuff en masse, one to many. And those 3 things, defining what you do, who it's for, and how you deliver it, are what set my business on its path to success, and will do the same for yours if you implement them correctly. So they're my 3 tips. How's that?
Brilliant. Fantastic. What a way to sum it up. And obviously, the 3 pillars thing absolutely summed up what we've been talking about. So that's brilliant.
Superb.
So I just want to thank you for your time today, Jonny. Like I said earlier, we could talk about this for hours, but I think we've summed it up, and hopefully we've inspired the listeners to maybe think about who their tribe is and how they can inspire them to do better things. And
hope so. My pleasure.
Thank you, Jonny. Thank you for listening to this episode. If you enjoyed it, please take a moment to leave a review. Don't forget to check out the Reluctant Leader project at www.thereluctantleader.co.uk. Make a note to start, stop, or continue doing whatever struck a chord in this episode. And until next time, be the best you can be.